What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Big Blue Drew 97 here to talk to you about Nanatsu no Taizai, the 7 Deadly Sins, Manga chapter 334, titled The End of an Era. So the Demon King is dead. All hail the 7 Deadly Sins. Even though one of them is dead. Rest in peace, Escanor. Praise the sun. But yeah, this is basically just sort of like a continuation of like what basically happened after last chapter and like the ramifications on the Demon King being defeated, where the first scene that we get, and I'll just talk about the cover page that we have for this chapter, which talks about the mightiest of all final gifts, where all we see is Escanor's axe, which in reality is like a gift and like a symbol of like how powerful Escanor is, because literally no one, as far as we know, is capable of wielding Escanor's weapon. And so now it's just laying there in the field, and then in the picture it shows like flowers resting there, basically being a memorial to Escanor's resting place. It's sort of like a tombstone for him as well. But in a more brighter news, the entire land of Britannia gets saved. And what is really cool is that to indicate that all is well, all is good, that the world is not gonna die at this moment in time. I'll talk about that later. We just see like a few like shining beacons and like a lot of the people who are in the villages, the smaller villages, a lot looking up like, oh, the storm is gone. And then we see Dreyfus and Hendrix and Jericho. I'm trying to get these names right. We see them and they're basically, it's like, oh my gosh, the Sins, they pulled it off. And then immediately afterwards we see you see Gila and Dreyfus like come in, basically like thinking the same thing, like, yo, they did it, everything is good, everything is great. And then we get like a messenger going to the king, his majesty, and telling him that the Sins defeated the Demon King. And after he says that, everyone is just happy. Like, everyone is cheering. Everyone's like, the Demon King is dead. Long live the king. And long live the 7 Deadly Sins. They won. They defeated him. They're all cheering. They're all happy. They're all like just filled with joy. And then there's the buzzkill that we all know is going to happen, where and from like what we're understanding, like only really 4 people know like the real truth about what happened with the 7 Deadly Sins. Like the one dude is like, there's one other thing that I probably should say. And we see the king, we see Gil, we see Hendrix, Hauser, and Gilmore. We get like the reactions to like what's about to be told, and like Gil cries when Hauser's trying to understand, like, Gil, what's wrong? He just has like tears. He's like, why aren't you happy? You're like, the person you looked up to is coming back. And he's crying. It's like, Escanor died. And like they basically just talk about like how great of a person Escanor was, that even like when he was like down and out, when he was like the point of death, he still stood up and smiled and like lived for what he believed in. And that's something that they all look up to, because pretty much like the 7 Deadly Sins are like the strongest beings in Britannia, only seconded, third, and fourth, obviously, to like the Holy Knight. So Gil is like, I looked up to him, as well as like I looked up to all the Sins. Now like it's hard to believe that one of them is dead, and like they're just trying to understand this feeling. Like it's like, yeah, the 7 Deadly Sins, Escanor is dead. What should we do? And Gilmore's like, hey, let's get drunk. And everyone's like, yeah, we'll tell the Majesty about it tomorrow. He'll understand. So yeah, and while they're on their way, they're talking like stuff about each other, like how they're gonna die, specifically Hauser, because he's like the head Holy Knight, and he's like, man, I want to go out in the same way that Escanor did, like laying my life on the line. And like both Gil and Gilmore's like, wow, you really being cocky. And like it's just like a moment of brevity, that in this like moment of like sadness, that they're still able to like lift up their spirits right before they like begin hitting the booze. But then there's one major thing that must be decided. where are we going to pass out tonight? And everyone's thinking, and like Gil and Hauser just look over to Gilmore. He's like, I don't think we can do that. It's like, hey, why want to go to Hauser's? And I was like, no, my parents are gonna be mad, which just means that like it's just funny because like he's like the Holy Knights leader. I forgot the actual title, but he's the leader of the Holy Knights, but he still like is like afraid of his parents. So like they go over to Gilmore's house and they toast to Escanor for protecting us, the 7 deadly sins for protecting us. They just begin drinking, and like during this time, like they're like, oh man, it's finally over. Man, what's gonna happen in this new age? Like the Demon King is dead. Oh, what is this new era gonna be? It's gonna be the new era of peace. And you just see Gilmore just looking around, like, not on the table, not in my jacket. Okay, I think everything is good. Hopefully everything is peaceful. And then you just hear someone say, it's too bad. When the balance of light and darkness crumbles, chaos will follow. And you see someone that, in all honesty, I forgot existed. Who is that person, you may be asking? Well, isn't it obvious? Actually, no, it's not. I actually forgot that this person never really existed. It's Vivian! You know, Vivian. That, like, one character, who's literally, like, a stalker and, like, stalked Gil, kidnapped him, tried to break him up with his princess love, and got cursed by, Merlin, that if you ever touch him, you'll be, like, basically poisoned to death by this curse. Yeah, Vivian, that stalker. Yeah, and I honestly, it's been a while since like this all happened, because I'm trying to remember like what happened with her, and it was like she was stabbed, if I remember correctly, by one of the archangels on that like ruined plasma, that that holy like ruins where we find out that Mael is Mael's true like self, and that he's not like the brother of Meliodas and Zoldris, that he was like an archangel. It was during that time. And also when he accumulated those sins, it was like around that time she gets killed by an archangel. And if I remember correctly, like, and she's like, they're wondering like, how were you even alive? Like, you literally got stabbed and like fell from the sky. How are you alive? She's like, oh, well, isn't it obvious? Thanks to that goddess who healed me, and through the power of love. I kid you not, that is her explanation. And it's like, she's in love, and you may be thinking, wait, no, like, I thought she wasn't, like, Gil was with, like, someone else. No. She's in love with Dreyfus. And, like, I find that hilarious. And, like, everyone else finds it was like, wait, why? Wait, why did you fall in love with Dreyfus? And Gil just, like, has, like, an audition. He's like, oh, it was probably during that time. Because you also have to remember that, one of the archangels took over one of the princess's body, and Dreyfus, who was like a druid, is very loyal to them. And this is during the fight with Zeldratros, the archangels versus Zeldratros. You had Escanor and Merlin, where they were all facing against Zeldris. Like, basically, like, Hendrix, my fault. Hendrix tricked the archangel to giving up Gil's princess girlfriend, I guess. And when he did that, he said like a few words of like let's stop this. This can't happen anymore. This is too much, if I'm remembering correctly. And how Vivian is like basically interpreting it as like it was a love confession is how she interpreted it. And like Gil was like, oh yeah, I remember, yeah. And like basically we have Gilmore basically like, yeah, my father just really pitied her. He couldn't just leave her out to die. And like she's like, it was all thanks to love. Also, I don't have that curse of that blasted witch anymore. And she just looks at Gil. She's like, I don't like Gil. Let's break up. I'm like, y'all were never together in the first place. But hey, we don't have to deal with that plot point anymore. She's no longer gonna be after Gil. She's gonna be after Gilmore's father, Dreyfus. I'm so sorry. Rest in peace, Dreyfus's love life. That is to two things died in the past 2 chapters. Escanor and Dreyfus's love life. Rip. Both of them. And then they snap to their senses and like they ask Vivian, wait 1 second. After a little bit more comedic humor with Vivian, they're like, wait. Vivian, what were you saying about chaos and after the era? And she explains like, oh, I really don't understand it. All I know is that when I heard from basically Merlin and her match is like, yeah, when the balance of light and darkness crumbles, when the gods are no more, an era of chaos will come first, and the world will be born anew. And like, we're thinking about this, and then we get a cut to like Merlin, and she's like, yeah, that's what the Borson of Bloody Merlin said. And then we get a cut to Merlin, which she still does have the burn around her face, so we know that's going to be a consistent. We see basically the death of, if I remember, I forgot. Just give me a moment. I can probably get him up. He's the king of Camelot. Arthur. I'm pretty sure it's Arthur. That makes some sense. We see Arthur's dead body, how he's impaled with the sword, Excalibur. And that's basically how it ends. It ends like on the idea that Merlin probably saw all of this coming and like knew exactly what's going to happen. Which, 2 things that I've got from this into this chapter. One of them is 7 Deadly Sins is going on for a lot longer than I thought. And I think that the idea was that 7 Deadly Sins is ending. Once the Demon King is dead, once Elizabeth and Meliodas return to the demon world, everything's going to be hunky-dory, and it's going to end. But after reading it for a while, I've come to the conclusion, and this basic chapter probably solidifies it, that at the very least, the 7 Deadly Sins has, at the very least, another year, another 2 years left in its run, where I actually thought it was going to be ending very soon, but from this, no. We still have a lot more 7 Deadly Sins to talk about. At least 1 more arc left, probably the era of chaos. And, like, the sins have to deal with, like, maybe not an initial bad, but, like, the consequences of getting rid of, like, the goddess and the demon king. And then the second thing that I learned is that there is a lot more to Merlin that we take for granted, because we know nothing about her. And we just assume that she is a good person because she is a sin. But if we remember from the last chapter, we do not know what her sin is. And Escanor alludes on what the sin is, or that he like knows what it is and he would still follow her, but Escanor was in love with her. So as far as we know, she could be for genocide of like most of Britannia. Escanor would have followed her anyway, but maybe the other sins won't. So I'm coming to the conclusion that maybe Merlin will be one of the next bad villains, and it may be somewhat like with Gothar's arc, where like the sins have to go against Merlin, but it's gonna be significantly different because like Merlin has the power of infinity. She's like, when it comes to like just raw like magical power, she is not matched. Escanor can match her obviously in physical power, but she hands down has the most like magic power. She was literally able to boost all of the sins' power so that they can defeat the Demon King, and gave Meliodas the idea on how to kill the Demon King without destroying Britannia. Like, all of that was only able to be accomplished because of Merlin's strategy and her magic. So it's very likely that she, or at the very least, she is strongly tied to what the next part of this story is going to be. She's going to be the focal point of that chapter. In the same vein of when it came to the Holy War, it was a strong connection, like strong understanding of bond, of Meliodas, of Elizabeth, and of Zildjian, even of Escanor to an extent. With this one, actually, pretty much for all of the sins except for Merlin. So I think Merlin's going to get an arc where she will either be established as like one of the actual big bads, or at the very least, we're going to get a little bit more about her. So mainly that what I got from this is that the Seven Deadly Sins is not ending soon, and Merlin is going to be playing a crucial part in the next part of the story. Whether that is going to be as a good guy, as a bad guy, as a neutral party, or as someone who just knew what was going to happen and was like, yeah, this was still like the best case scenario. So, all in all, I think this was a alright chapter. It wasn't something like blown out the water, especially after like the previous chapters, but there was a lot to be desired. I mean, I really did enjoy the interactions between Hauser, Gil, and Gillimore. Like, I really did that. But there was like a few scenes that like did not transition well, specifically between like Gil and them learning about Escanor's death, and then transferring over to like them like talking about it, joking about it. It seemed very rushed, and even to the point where it was like, we do not know if like everyone knows about Escanor's death. Probably do, but it wasn't conveyed effectively. So that was probably a strong negative for this chapter, as well as like the pacing of it was a little bit off. That could just be due to the translations not being official in a way. So, but anyway, if I were to give this a score, I probably would give it a solid 3 out of 5. It was a very average chapter, in my opinion. It wasn't like bad in the slightest, but I think it was very average, especially but it gives confirmation that Merlin is more than what she appears to be, both physically and probably like with her backstory, as well as her connection to the story, as well as the Seven Deadly Sins will go on for a lot longer than you think. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I really did enjoy making it. Like, comment, subscribe. I guess I'll start saying that at the end of these videos, and hopefully I will catch you in 2 weeks for my next 7 Deadly Sins video, because unfortunately we are going on break, which makes sense. We've had like a lot of like good chapters back to back, so if anything, this is going to be a little bit of breathing room for the holidays. So